Hello, comic book guys and gals, and welcome to Comic Mag Musings Live. This Hollywood handsome fella is your host, Bill Miller. Alongside me, I have my co-host, Roger. He's Dynamite, also known as Metarod. Sir, how are you?
I am blessed, great to be here. Love to be talking about these Bronze Age series with you, Bill. And this is one which is very special to me, which we'll get into it. But thank you again for partnering up with me. It's great to have these young whippersnappers here on these streams with me because you never know but the perspectives that they might have rather than my old fogey stuff.
Well, if I find any of those whippersnappers, I'll send them your way, sir. All right, so we are
Look in a mirror.
We are going to cover Giant Size Invaders #1, Invaders 1 through 21, and Marvel Premiere issues 29 and 30. Does that sound about right?
That's right. That's right.
All right.
That's what we agreed upon, in the last few days because of change to make sure we had the story arc completed. I mean, it just makes sense to cut it off there.
Yep. That was all in the contract I sent you. It's been signed and returned to me. So that is what we will cover today. Why don't we cover Giant Size Invaders #1, and then we'll take a step back and introduce the illustrious chat.
Sounds good. Yeah, we already got some of our buddies in here, but let's start off.
All right, and there
the
it is.
Big boy himself, Giant Size Invaders #1.
That is a beauty.
Frank Robbins and Romita cover, I do believe.
It is, yes.
Bill, this is one of those I do remember buying off the rack. As a huge Captain America fan, if you've seen my videos about my Captain America quest. Once I saw him large and in charge there going, and I'm also a World War II buff, so over the Fortress Europa, which is obviously all the lands that Germany had conquered during World War II, I had to have this, and boy, it did not disappoint.
Oh, it's fantastic. 1975, Frank Robbins with interior art as well as the cover, and that's one of the, I think, things that, as opposed to what we covered last time, the Champions, I think that's one of the things that helped this into a nice solid run of over 40 issues, was having that same creative team for the most part through everything, both as interior artist and writer in Roy Thomas and Frank Robbins.
Yeah, certainly for the first few years, Robbins and Thomas were, except for there was one issue Rich Buckler did, and there was maybe one other there, but you're right. They were in sync. Let's put it that way. I'm not the biggest Frank Robbins fan. I just think he has these funky poses. But I think at least the Vince Colletta inks on the first year or so kind of toned him down a little bit. But regardless, it was the art was good enough that I enjoyed it, and I have reread this several times throughout the years.
Yeah, I think Frank Robbins was competent. That's what I would say for him.
I agree.
I do think that he does well he did well in kind of recreating a little bit of the look from the Golden Age in this book. I don't know how much of that was him and how much was the inker, but I do think it was a nice fit at the very least.
Yeah, I agree. And a little bit of backstory here. I know you probably know this, Bill, but Roy Thomas wrote an issue of the Avengers 71, which I have, but I didn't pull it out, with the big three. You got it handy? Mm-hmm. Great.
I do not.
Oh, you don't? Oh, okay, sorry. With the Submariner, Human Torch, and Captain America with his original, more triangular shield.
Right.
Because he was a huge fan of the timely heroes. He started collecting right after World War II. But during the war itself, this team up never really occurred. Not as a team. They did meet here and there. But he always wanted to, he always wondered what would happen if they would have gotten together during the war. like they did afterwards in the All Winter Squad, along with the Wizard and Miss America. But that only lasted a couple issues.
Right.
So he went to Stan Lee and he says, "Hey, Stan, I got an idea for a new team, and it's kind of have its own continuity, although they do reference the Golden Age characters and events and so forth. And I want to call it the Invaders, right?" And that was smart of him because Stan himself wanted to name the team up of Submariner and Hulk after Tales to Astonish as the Invaders. That didn't pan out. So he was like, "Oh, that'll get his attention." And Roy Thomas, very smart man,
He was.
got it. And he got the green light to initially start the giant size Invaders issues. Initially, it was supposed to be several giant size, but I guess they changed their mind and they gave it the regular series treatment.
Yeah, they had to change their mind because I don't think that sales data came in quickly enough prior to starting the actual run itself.
Right.
But yeah, that one was real briefly Nazi saboteurs at the Liberty shipyards. Cap and Bucky intercept them and defeat them. And there's an FBI agent, Bill Stewart, and he asked Cap about Dr. Anderson. And that's kind of like a flashback scene to when Cap remembers a year prior being in the super soldier program. And that they, of course, kind of tell the origin story again, where he gets the injection. Dr. Anderson works with Dr. Erskine, who was assassinated by a Nazi spy. And then after that flashback, they visit this Dr. Anderson who's in the hospital. He was kidnapped by Colonel Krieghund, right? War Dog or Warhound.
Yeah, Warhound, I think.
Yeah. And he's trying to create this same super soldier serum for a Nazi Übermensch or a German version of the super soldier. And they use something called the siphon, which they hook up to this Dr. Anderson, and it essentially pulls knowledge out of his brain, right? Yep. The Human Torch and Toro raid this facility that they're in. And they fought the Master Man, who appears, to a draw, and then the doctor is taken to the hospital, right?
Yep.
I think the Nazis are planning to attack a ship in Chesapeake Bay.
That's right.
And Masterman is so there's a U-boat which attacks the HMS Duke of York. And one of the sailors turns out to be Namor in disguise.
In disguise, yeah. He was a plant because the
Prime Minister Churchill was on this ship.
On the right. He was protecting the British Prime Minister, right?
And Masterman leads the attack, but during the fight, he loses strength. It's like the serum wears off. And so he's defeated. Right. Yet the U-boat commander launches missiles, and Namor intercepts them, turns them around, blows up the U-boat. And Churchill is saved, and he suggests that they form a team and names the team. Yes.
That's right. Excellent.
Yeah,
excellent job. Yeah. And let's talk about Masterman a little bit, because he is actually a much more powerful version of Captain America. I mean, this guy can leap, like it seemed like a quarter mile.
Yes.
He was fairly impervious to the flames, and he was even stronger than Submariner. But the problem is that they didn't have the whole formula, so it didn't last. And so he turned into this little pipsqueak, and they just
right.
You know, they just
right.
I think it
was their
version
of a 4-H, right?
Yeah, exactly. The 4-H.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
was Steve Rogers sort of reversing there.
Right.
But again, really cool little origin here. Recap of the Cap origin. I like how they melded the characters together. It was very organic, very natural, and boy, here it started. And there's an ad in here for Giant Size Invaders #2. And I was like looking for it, I remember through the rag, I was like, where is this thing? And then finally, I saw this thing,
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, excellent issue though. Excellent issue.
And there was also a reprint of Submariner Comics #1 in there too.
In the back. Yeah. They did do that later on in the series as well when they had like
for a different reason though, I think. Yeah, I think they did that later on as part fill-in. Because of some deadline issues, at least that's what I suspect.
Right. You want to shout out this chat before we get any longer, because we got a lot of heavy hitters in here.
Let's do it.
All
right. So we've got Alex Big Blue all the way from Kentucky. Good to see you, Alex. We've got the Jackson Roy Kurt, who's trying to recruit the Woodpecker as one of the newest invaders outside the house. We've got the comic collector Tim. How are you, sir? We've got Mark Spector Comics. Dave, good to see you. We've got the one of the Crusaders, the Gray Man, dropping into the chat.
We'll talk about that later.
Yeah. We've got Mark Knapp 68. What's going on, Mark?
Hey, Mark.
We've got James. Roger says Gallegos, but it's actually Gallegos. Good to see you, James. Thanks for stopping in.
Oh man!
All right, I think we got everyone, unless I missed somebody.
I like Jackson. He says, "I love it. Look how Roger's just sitting back and letting his pupil present the story."
Absolutely,
no, he did a great job, much better than I would have. Yeah. Great job. So,
all right.
So again, there. By the way, you didn't mention this, but as an aside. There is a mention of a character called Brain Drain.
That's right.
One of the characters that was involved in the creation of Masterman, but he didn't actually appear in Giant Size Invaders #1, right? So now we have this I think was originally Giant Size Invaders #2 first part, and then #2 is the second part. And here we get sort of a continuation, right? I'll start off here. Essentially, during a battle, there's this woman that appears, and has golden eyes, golden hair, real, Norwegian kind of look about her. And Captain America sees her, and because she's just sort of wandering, and
right in a daze,
and she's got,
she's in a daze.
What was that?
She's in a daze.
Yeah, she's very confused. She's a kind of amnesia. So he takes her in, and along with the other invaders that are fighting off the. By the way, there's one thing I wanted to mention about Robbins. He does a great job with the aircraft, with the Royal Air Force, with the Stukas, with the bombers. I thought he did a great job. I mean, I'm not crazy about his people, but his aircraft were great in this.
Yeah, he seemed to be an aviation history buff, and he would sometimes have some drawings of particular airplanes where they'd be pointed out by Roy Thomas.
Right. Yeah, agreed.
So yeah, she was shoved out of the way, right? She was shoved out of the way by Cap,
right?
And her ring came off.
Right, her ring came off, right? And she didn't know what the ring was, but Cap took it and put it into his belt because he thought it might jog her memory.
He was always swiping jewelry.
Which became a very important plot point later on.
Yep.
Then they, this was odd. This would never happen, right? But they take her into one of the command centers where they're plotting counterattacks and so forth against Germans. They just bring her in there,
Yeah.
Whatever.
Right in the operations center.
Bill, you were in the military. I don't think that would occur, right? But
yeah, they wouldn't take me in there, let alone someone else.
Right. and they're trying to help her figure out. Cap knows that has some kind of importance, and they sort of, and she sees on the map a place, and she goes, "That place there looks, it's familiar to me," and it's somewhere behind enemy lines.
Right.
So what do? They go into the Submariner's airship, which is a really cool aircraft, by the way.
Yeah, very advanced.
Very advanced, goes in the water, goes in the air, and also, we'll talk about that. And they go behind enemy lines to find where this thing is, this place. And she says, "Yeah, it's like there." And there's literally just they're just being bombarded. The aircraft gets hit, and I think it lands by itself, if I recall, after everybody bails out.
Well, it's knocked out of the sky by a flying battle axe.
Right. It's correct. Right, a flying battle axe. And then after they recover, they get down. They see these 3 guys up on this crag, and they're like Teutonic gods, or so they say, like the
Donar, Fro, and Loga. Now, is that me or you? You look to be frozen, Roger. Hey, Richard. How are you? Thanks for stopping in. Always good advice. So who is frozen? I think Roger is stuck. Let me see if I can take you out and put you back in. Oh, okay. Well, Roger dropped out. So I think he's going to try to reboot. But I'll finish that one. So yes, these are Teutonic gods, Donar, Fro, and Loga. And they meet the invaders after the invaders safely. It's the Razzies. That's right. All right. We've got them back. It was the Razzies. I think they were listening in on our stream and they froze. Right. That's what happened.
Right.
All right. So yes, all right, Donar, Fro, and Loga meet them on the ground, and that's where it stops.
There you go. And that's like the cliffhanger right at the end. And now, when this starts, they're like, okay, we got to get these guys. They're obviously very threatening and all this. So
great Romita Senior cover.
What was that?
Great Romita Senior cover there.
Oh, what isn't it? Yeah, isn't it? He's not really this big. This is more allegorical here.
Yes.
So yeah, they start fighting. The Human Torch and Toro take on the Fire God.
Loga. Yeah.
Captain America is still with the girl. Okay. The Lightning. No. Toro takes on the Lightning guy, right? And the Submariner takes
Toro
on
fights
the
Fro,
Donar, right?
Yes. Namor fights Donar.
Right.
Correct. Yep.
Donar,
Cap and Hildy. Hildy is the girl's name.
Hildy, yeah, right. Hildy.
Yeah, they're caught by Nazi officers and taken to Brain Drain's lab.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. And they do defeat the invaders team, and they're taken back to the lab. Like you're right, and that's where we see Brain Drain, which is this disembodied brain, kind of in a bottle with a robotic body. Right?
Yep.
And apparently he's controlling these gods, but they're not really gods. They're aliens that crash landed by happenstance near there. And Brain Drain having the ring, he got to hypnotize them or control them somehow.
Correct. The ring of nebulas.
Right. There you go. And since he doesn't have the ring, his control is only like suggestive right now. But once he has it, they do exactly what he says. And he he detects that Captain America has the ring, so he gets it, and again he's able to control it. But I think Brunhilde or Hilda, whatever,
Hildy.
Hildy, yeah, right, grabs the ring from him, and the three other aliens realize that they can't get home because their spaceship is smashed, and so they throw themselves into this acid pit or something.
Yeah, so they were still fighting the other invaders.
Right.
When she grabbed the ring, she threw the ring into the vat of acid, and that severed the control that Brain Drain had over them. So that's when they stopped fighting the other invaders. And then, yes, you're right. Collectively, they realized that they couldn't get back to their home planet anymore. So they essentially committed suicide by all of them jumping into the vat of acid. And then Brain Drain, who had a little bit of crushy crush on Hildy, he followed suit and went in there as well.
Yeah, and he just blew up in there. He just gone. You know, his body's all robotic and reacted to the metal more than with the alien stuff.
Right.
So,
yeah, he just had a brain and eyes in that glass dome.
Yeah, yeah. So and that is the end of the story arc, I guess, that started in Giant Size #1 here. Yep. Interesting that they even would sort of go here, because now we're talking about the Teutonic. You know, the Germans tried to impress upon them that these were Teutonic gods, and that's something we really didn't see much, you know, throughout comic history. And then you have the suicide thing, which is not,
that was a little bit surprising. Yeah,
a little bit more, you know, violent than usual. But again, this is war, so I guess they loosened it up a little bit here.
Right.
But a pretty good little story arc, I'd say. You know, you're not sure what that Brunhilde was, and you knew she was involved, but you didn't know what she was, and they really did, you know, sort of bring the plot along at a good pace here.
Yep, I enjoyed it.
Yeah,
all right, issue number 3.
All right.
And here we have a King Kirby cover, who does many of the covers. I'd say a majority of them, at least.
I think maybe Romita helped him out here, but yeah, that's like the Kirby to me too. Yeah.
Yep. January 1942. There's a U-boat attacking an American freighter. The invaders sink the U-boat. They capture the commander, and he has a secret encoded message that the Nazis plan to, guess what, kill Churchill. Boy, they won't leave that old British bulldog alone, will they?
I tell you.
And with an Atlantean U-man who essentially is, well, they talk about his backstory in the next issue. But yeah, he is Namor feels a tremendous amount of personal responsibility since U-man is an Atlantean, and he goes off to fight him and take care of him himself. The invaders argue about it, but Namor leaves with Bucky, who kind of supports him in it. And I think that's the majority of this issue here. Yeah,
that's it in a nutshell. I mean, the only thing I would say is that, man, that they try to stop him, like they start shooting at him with the. I mean, they really want to stop him. I mean,
they do. Yeah, it's a knockdown, drag out fight.
I think he's gone rogue. It was a heck of it. It's like half the issue was just them just trying to corral him, and then you're right. Bucky surprisingly said, "Hey, I understand what he's talking about. That's his people. I see what he's talking about," and he supports them.
Right.
And he's also now learning how to fly the airship. Bucky is.
Yes, becoming pretty good at it too.
Pretty good at it. Yeah.
And becoming as friendly with Namor as anyone could probably become as friendly with Namor.
Yep. That's right. Until, well, we'll see what happens later.
Yeah. So in this one, I think Cap, Human Torch, Toro, they commandeer an airplane to try to catch up with Namor. Right. That's a polite way to say it. Now, this is where you get the backstory, where the U-Man was a research scientist, Morano was his name, and he was making overtures toward the Nazis, and he was exiled by Namor because of that. So
exactly, and
Betty Dean,
since he was a scientist, he took this formula.
That's right. Mm-hmm. Yep. Betty Dean, who
made him able to breathe out of water and all, and very strong.
Yep. She was with a bunch of journalists. That's all right. She was in a little boat that was.
That's a good one. Betty Dean makes an appearance here, and she was.
That's right.
She was the involved with Submariner in the Golden Age.
That's right. Time. Exactly. Yep.
I think, and she's like goes by. She's trying to report on the ship, and so she's on a little boat next to it.
Yeah.
With a cameraman or somebody.
What's going on, Jason? Good to see you. Thanks for stopping in. So yes, this ship is attacked by U-Man and his thugs, and they're all gotten rid of except Betty. She's captured because U-Man knows of her relationship with Namor, and she's seemingly knocked unconscious and thrown below deck. But she's able to radio the seaplane that Churchill is in to let him know what's happening, and the plane. The plane takes off, starts climbing, but U-Man is able to grab it. He's then attacked by Namor, and they fight. He and Namor fight, and U-Man flees. Churchill flies away, and what happens is sort of a portal opens up, right? And the U-boat is sucked in. None of the invaders are sucked in, but Churchill sees, I think, a dinosaur in this portal before it finally closes up. Keep in mind, this is around the Bermuda Triangle. And so that's kind of a little subtle shout out to Skull the Slayer and that series.
And I do think they mention it in a footnote somewhere.
Oh, they might have.
I think they do. Maybe because we were talking about it beforehand. I don't know.
What's going on, Gary?
Right, exactly. Hey, Gary, how you doing? But he does get away. Kind of. He knows that he can't do it by himself now because the plane's away and out of his reach. But we're gonna see him again. Don't you worry.
Absolutely.
Now comes a pretty long story arc, which will cross over into Marvel Premiere and the creation of the Liberty Legion. But for now, what happens here is that
that's a slight change, right?
Right.
Yeah, that's Hannigan on the cover, and that's Buckler on the interior.
Buckler in the interior, correct. This is the one where it was like, I guess he couldn't make it, or Robbins couldn't make it. But I think this one starts off with the invaders attacking a plant.
Correct. They destroy an American defense plant. Yes.
American defense plant. Right. And which is like, what happened here?
Yeah. Sort of out of character for them. Yeah.
Very out of character. Bucky is not involved in this and the attack.
Correct. It's the other.
But we were like, what happened here? And it's C4. And the plant guys are like, what happened? I thought that these guys were on our side, and now this is happening. And then sort of, I guess that's the flash forward. There's, I guess, a flashback later where it shows again that there's this phenomenon happening. The Red Skull is essentially just keeps announcing that that America sucks, and and that we're gonna destroy the invaders and everything. And so I think
it's during a war bond parade. Yeah, it's a war bond drive parade. Arranged by industrialist Mr. Lyle.
Right. Right. And that Mr. Lyle, we find out later, is not really Mr. Lyle, but during that parade, he wants the invaders, and he wants the invaders there, right? Because without the invaders, he says they're not going to be able to get enough, audience and so forth.
Right.
It's all a ruse to get them there so that the Red Skull can, I don't know if it hypnotizes them or.
Well, he's like,
somehow,
he appears like a portal in the sky. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if that was ever like explained very well.
No, it wasn't.
How that
he just
occurred.
Swallows up the invaders, except for Bucky, who he considers inconsequential.
Yeah, Red Skull says, you don't have any powers. I'm not going to bother with you. You're just a kid,
Yeah.
So the invaders are whisked away, and now we know that the Red Skull is controlling them.
Yep.
And there's Bucky like saying, what the heck am I going to do?
Right. And he comes up with a plan. He's not taken too seriously by FBI agent Bill Stewart, but he has a plan that he'll only tell the president. And one little thing about this issue is just prior to that, Bucky and Toro were looking at comic books, following their own adventures and realizing there are other costumed superheroes as well.
That's right. They were noticing that there were other heroes that worked independently, not as a team.
That's true. An American defense plant in the Southwest is a cactus.
Like a cactus, yeah. So yeah, like Bill was saying, he breaks into this meeting of the president and some of the higher ups, and he like has to essentially blow through the guards and everything. And he has a plan, but at first they're like, no, we don't want to listen to it. But then Roosevelt says, let's listen to him. He's been Cap's right hand man, and he's been a supporter. And that plan is later on he shows up during a radio broadcast with the Patriot, which is this gentleman here.
Yeah, and that's sort of having 29. Right. I'm sorry, that's Marvel.
Marvel 29. Right. Yeah. This takes over the plot. Although the invaders don't appear in here except Bucky, and his plan is to broadcast and grab all these other heroes that are not affiliated. In other words, just single heroes, and make them a team, and hopefully they'll be able to capture the invaders, because knows that something's wrong. The Red Skull has done something to them, and he broadcasts, and all we have here are rehashes of the origins of all these characters: Red Raven, Miss America, Blue Diamond, Jack. Well, not Jack Frost. He appears at the end, but Thin Man,
Bub's favorite, the Wizard.
Yes. Wizard, yes.
Right. Yeah.
And at the end, right at the end, he's like, "Oh, there's nobody who's showing up," and then they all show up at once.
Yep. Thin Man, and Blue Diamond, Patriot. Yeah, and then at the end, one of these sound engineers is actually a Nazi spy, and he's getting ready to blow them all up, and that's when we have the appearance of Jack Frost.
Frost to stop them. Yeah. Yes. Very dramatic stuff. And then they, I think they go through this little dialogue, and they decide Bucky will be their leader, even though he's young and a whole bit.
Right.
And pose and give the V for victory, and really cool little thing,
Yeah.
Okay, so the team is formed. Now what, right?
Yep. Now we jump back to the invaders.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. Yeah, it goes to Invaders number 6, and then to Marvel.
Yeah, you're right. I'm sorry. All right. Yep, you're right. You're right.
You're better than that, Roger.
Go ahead.
So this is the Liberty Legion. They're fighting like spies and saboteurs in the northeast of the United States. And Red Skull issues them a challenge. And so he sends some of the invaders to different landmarks, right? And Blue Diamond fights Namor at the Statue of Liberty. Cap is at Independence Hall fighting Miss America and Patriot. Whizzer, I love that name, Whizzer, and Red Raven are fighting the Torches at the Lincoln Memorial, right? And Bucky and
Right.
Thin Man are in New York. They're trying to figure out, see if they can triangulate where Red Skull's hideout is. And at the very end, they find the Human Torch, and he starts flying directly at them at the radio station, you know, where they're at.
Yep. And
after all those battles are inconclusive, you know, and the invaders are
Right.
called back by Red Skull. Blue Diamond Phillips.
Blue
Oh, what a smart guy. What a smart guy that Jackson.
We've got some real jokers here. We do.
Yeah,
We've got some real jokers here. You know, hold on. Do you remember who did the art for the Marvel premiere ones? I don't think that was Robbins, was it?
For 29, it was Jack Kirby with the cover, and it was the great Don Heck on the interiors. He also did the interiors.
That's right.
30, yeah.
That's right. Yeah. That's correct. So again, here in 30, we find out that Lyle guy is actually the Red Skull.
Right. Surprise.
And his headquarters is actually right underneath the radio station, which is the headquarters of the Liberty Legion, where they were broadcasting it out.
That's right.
So, so now we got a big battle royal going on here. I don't know if it was the Red Skulls. It says, you know, show up at Yankee Stadium, or I don't know.
Yeah,
Stadium
he issues a challenge, to the Liberty Legion to fight the invaders at Yankee Stadium. That's pretty awesome, right?
Yeah, it's like, we're going to get rid of you. We want you out of the way.
To control the minds of the invaders. That's why they're doing his bidding. He's controlling them via this Nolatron. And
right.
as
exactly.
Mr. Lyle, they tell him that they captured Toro, and he is free of the mind control, and he can't understand that, and he's like, prove it. So Toro flies out of the window and creates the V in the sky and comes back in. He's like, ooh, all right. So he goes and amps up the Nolatron, thinking that Toro has been freed from his control. Actually, it was Bucky dressed as Toro, and Miss Liberty's the one who did the V in the sky.
Right. And the Yankees bat boy was dressed as Bucky.
That's right. Yep.
Continue.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
So and now that he uses that, they triangulate where he's at, and there's a blimp that they come out of and all that.
Well, yeah, he's worried about Toro using this homing to get back to him, so he changes locations to this hydrogen-filled Zeppelin.
Helium balloon, and of course Toro goes back to the balloon, right. And
the humanity.
Yeah, that's it. And of course that all the control of the invaders is gone. They help, you know, so that the pieces of the balloon don't go on the fan, because there was a fans in the stands, by the way. This is like this was like MMA, you know, for superheroes, you know. And they help, the Liberty Legion helps evacuate Yankee Stadium,
right?
And
they work with the invaders,
and they come together and they say, you know, great job. Now the Liberty Legion is going to stay and protect the home front, the United States. And the invaders are going to do what they originally thought they would do, and that is to actually go to the front and help over there. And that's where the story ends. Yeah. But European theater. So really clever little twist there. Hey, how you doing, Sly? He was just on with Gray Man. I was watching that stream where they were showing a bunch of stuff.
That was fun.
I think I saw Gary B, my buddy, who was on with me, and Simon. Great guy. So let's continue. I'm just going to put this down. Let's ramp it up a bit here, Bill, because we're behind.
You got it.
All right,
so
now starts
Invaders number 7.
Yep. Now starts the Baron Blood storyline.
That is my favorite story arc of the first half of these. That's when that one just got me.
Yeah,
Loved it. Loved
I'm
it.
with you. I'm with you.
So they're in London,
Again,
and
beautiful
they're
cover
fighting
here.
German planes. Torch sees a woman, with a guy, and doesn't think anything of it. Then he hears her scream, and he goes and sees this, what looks to be some modern type of vampire, with the woman, prostrate at his feet. He battles him, but the vampire, who turns out to be Baron Blood, gets away. The woman is Jacqueline Falsworth, and she's taken to her home, where she lives with her father, Lord Falsworth. And it turns out that Lord Falsworth is the World War I hero, Union Jack. Exactly. And Baron Blood was a German spy during World War I. They had battled previously. The invaders find Baron Blood, but he gets away. And at dinner, toward the end of the issue, they meet Lord Falsworth's nephew, John Falsworth.
Nephew.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. Nephew in several different double quotes or air quotes. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that's right. And the lady who was bit was Jacqueline Falsworth, and she was still kind of weak, but they brought her back and she got better. And then I think I don't know if it was the end of here or the beginning of here. Union Jack, he said, well, I want to be an invader. I want to help you get this Baron Blood guy. So they go out to several areas of London, several famous areas.
Yeah, that's in that issue right there. Yeah.
Right there, right? Yeah.
The big bad Ryan is in the house. Good to see you.
Hey, Ryan, how you doing? And Union Jack, since he knows Baron Blood, his dagger is actually silver, made out of silver. And they battle on this, was it a trestle or a bridge, suspension bridge?
Right. Well, yeah, they battle, and Baron Blood gets the best of him, and he gets the best of Cap.
Yep.
But yeah, this is when, like, Torch went after him, thought he found him, and it was like a balloon that exploded that was made to look like Baron Blood.
Right.
Same thing with Namor. He goes after him, but it was just a dummy Baron Blood. And Cap's the one who actually found him. Yeah. And then I think he grabbed a gun. He was going to shoot Cap, but it was Lord Falsworth's gun, Union Jack's gun, and there was silver that it backfired, and the silver went into his eyes, and he took off.
He flew off.
Went away. Yeah.
Yeah. Again, I mean, really clever little. Roy Thomas is really good at these little clever twists that you don't expect.
Right.
And that was a good one.
Yeah, and Jacqueline was very angry at all of them about Union Jack wanting to join up with the invaders because her mother was killed in during the Blitz.
During the Blitz, right?
Yeah.
So she didn't want her father involved at all.
Right. She just wanted to sit out.
Right. She said, "Hey, because he's now a gentleman in his 60s, I would assume, something in that range." And understandably, she doesn't want to lose another parent.
Right.
But what they don't know is that when they come back home, the nephew, which is actually not the nephew, but is actually his brother from World War I, but since he's so young looking because of the vampirism, he made believe he was a nephew. Goes and wants to attack Jacqueline Falsworth, okay, and ends up biting her at least once, I do believe, but not to the point where she's dying or anything like that.
Right, correct. Yeah,
anything
while
else
they're away. What's that? That was an issue number 9. That was in issue number 9, where while they're away, he bites her again.
Right. He bites her again here. Right.
Yeah. And he hypnotizes Union Jack because they go out to get him again, but they lead Lord Falsworth behind. And so he's as Union Jack and confronts him, is defeated by Baron Blood, and Baron Blood hypnotizes him. And then they go into a little back history, I think, of John Falsworth, where he was the younger brother and he was left out of the inheritance, and he kicked around Europe and then went to Transylvania to try to get Dracula and control him and use his power. But the tables are turned, and Dracula bites him and turns him into a vampire. But then the Human Torch, who suspected that the nephew was actually Baron Blood, busts in. Baron Blood gets away with Jacqueline, and he takes her to a cave where he and his brother would play when they were younger. Union Jack shows up. His legs get crushed by a boulder. But in the very end, he's able to lift the boulder off, and it lands on Baron Blood, impaling him on these stalagmites, and he kind of turns quickly into bones.
Skeleton, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and that's
so
never to be seen of again, Roger.
No, he gets better. He gets better. But Jacqueline is on death's door. She's been drained of a lot of blood.
Yep. And
Falsworth is got his legs crushed. So if you know anything about that, hit the road, Union Jack, and to come back. Nice, right, nice. So that's where this ends. Dire straits for the Falsworths. Okay. Now the next issue is going to be a quickie. Well, no, I'm sorry, not. The next issue is going to be a quickie because it's mostly a reprint. There's a framing sequence where they're in the airship and they're flying to the hospital.
Right.
And Captain America is remembering about this villain who was of the Reaper because Jacqueline's on death's door, and that brings back. I don't think we're going to go too much into this, Bill.
No, because there's like 3 or 4 original pages in there. You're right, where they're just rushing Union Jack and Jacqueline to the hospital.
And they make it there.
22.
They make it to the hospital, and Union Jack is like, "Take care of my daughter." He said, "We'll take care of both of you." Okay?
Right.
And that's pretty much it. And then we get.
Yeah, definitely. I think they were missing a deadline there.
Yeah, they missed a deadline. Yeah, that happened a lot in Marvel in the mid 70s. I did a whole video on that, by the way.
Yeah.
So here they get to the hospital, and this is kind of a wacky thing here, but
it is.
Apparently, the hospital is also the only spot in London where they could have this military experiment for this armor
experimental
that
lab
could change the course of the war because and of course that they just it's just a door there. I mean, just
that's fantastic.
Anyway. Whatever, right? And they're operating on okay, so they're she needs
Jacqueline
a transfusion.
needs blood. Yes,
needs blood, right? But the only universal donor is the Human Torch because his android blood fits everybody. She's got. They couldn't be just any blood. So they're getting a transfusion. Well, they're transfusing that. Well, the power goes out in the hospital, and then they check. They say, "Oh, this guy is doing this stuff." so the Cap and the other invaders go and say, what's going on, and say, "Oh, it's a very important experiment." And they go check the generator. It's toast. So the Submariner like runs on it to spin it.
right.
Or something. He does something to spin it, right? And the power goes back on, and they repair it. And then, of course, the blue bullet armor starts shooting throughout the whole hospital, making holes everywhere. They can't stop it because it's too fast and it's pretty impervious, and they don't have the.
Well, yeah, he dons the armor and starts wreaking havoc. This professor, right?
Professor Gold, I think.
Gold, that's right. It is, Professor Gold.
They think it's his assistant, but at the end, it's the professor.
Yeah.
Yep. And so they're going right towards where the transfusion is going, and the Submariner just goes rams them right in the head, and just dents the thing. and they
incredible collision. Yes.
Yeah, just a major collision. Really hokey story here, guys.
Yeah.
But,
The ending is good though.
But the important thing is the transfusion of success. What?
Yeah, and Jacqueline reveals that she is super duper fast because of Human Torch's blood within her now.
Because of that transfusion, she's really quick. You know, she's like literally a blur.
She hugs Captain America and asks to join the Invaders, and Torchy is very jealous because he is
very upset.
He's holding a torch for Jacqueline.
Right. So he takes like a little leave of absence because he's so upset, you know.
Yes.
About it. But she's okay. She's okay.
Yes. She made it.
And here she dons. She goes back to the manor. She's a Spitfire. Yeah, she is.
Yeah, she is.
Yeah, and she dons her. She doesn't appear in costume in 11. She appears. Appears first here. And what we find out is that the Human Torch is wondering why Professor Gold would do this when he is a Warsaw Jew.
Right. So he visits him in the Tower of London, where he's being held.
They put this guy in the Tower of London. You know,
he's a big shot.
Really, I mean, this is big, right? And he starts questioning him, and he confesses that he hates the Nazis, but if they're going to kill his family, his brother,
blackmailing him.
Blackmailing.
His brother is still in that Warsaw ghetto.
Right. Correct. And so, you know, the Human Torch as well, you know, I can talk to people, you can still help. And he goes, I'm not going to do that until I know my brother's safe. So you got to get him into London for me to continue my efforts. Because that armor was, pretty important for the war effort.
Absolutely. Yeah, his younger brother's Jacob Gold. And the Invaders head to Poland, joined by the newly minted Spitfire, who has joined the Invaders. After all being upset at her father, she ends up joining the Invaders. Jacob is a geologist, but he's kind of meek. He just wants to he's sort of a pacifist. He just wants to sit this out and hope the Nazis kind of go away. But when the Nazis attack the Invaders and force them to surrender, I think Jacob realizes there's something he might be able to do.
Right, correct. So the Invaders are again, they're placed in these different cells that negate their powers and the whole bit.
Yeah, those are great. They have like 2 or 3 versions of them throughout this.
Yeah, like water tanks and these manacles all kinds of weird things that they somehow have ready just in case. Right?
Things that would take 5 to 10 years to build. Yeah, they have them ready.
Yeah, and they do it like 3 times within like a few weeks. You know, it's amazing.
Yep.
Well, one I think they said that they modified things, but the other 2 are just bizarre. Right. So, like Bill was saying, he's a geologist. So he has like these rocks and clay, but he's also a studier of Hebrew history. And once he sees the violence that the Nazis are doing, he just says, well, if I don't do anything, I'm going to be part of this essentially. So he has this lump of clay, and he gets like this soup, like some kind of, I don't know, what is that he puts in there, Bill? That
heavy water.
Heavy water, right?
Yeah, heavy water is a component
that was stolen
from the Nazis. Yep.
Right. That was stolen by one of his friends, and he was afraid to return it, so he left it with him.
Yep.
Okay. And with that heavy water and that clay and stuff, he writes on the forehead emeth, which I think mean, what does that mean?
True. Well, emet.
I know the other one means death.
Means truth in Hebrew. Yeah.
Truth. That's right.
Yeah.
I forgot my
He
Hebrew.
wrote emeth, but it's actually EMET that means truth. But they added an H for whatever reason.
Added an H.
But yeah, that's what it's supposed to mean, truth.
Yeah. They didn't do their homework in here, apparently.
No, not fully. And then his little lab is struck by lightning. And out from the debris comes the golem.
And I think he also, doesn't he doesn't he like become part of the golem?
Yes, he is the golem, and the
He is golem. He
golem
converts into it. Yeah.
Yes, he becomes the golem, and the Nazi in charge of the ghetto called the Face. That's his name. He takes the Face and throws him off of this castle and kills him. And then when the invaders confront him, the golem kind of rubs his head and he rubs off the E, and so it leaves meth.
Yeah.
Not your kind of meth, Jackson. This means something different. So it leaves just meth on there, and he transforms back into Jacob Gold. And then the invaders want to take him back to London, but he says, "I want to stay here and help fight an insurrection against the Nazis."
That's right.
Great Gil Kane
totally
cover,
his
by the way.
Perspective.
Oh yeah,
yeah, isn't that? Yeah. Oh, by the way, I think Bill mentioned it, but when he went to the castle, he also smashed the Samaritan, and they escaped. The invaders escaped because of the freed them because of all the that was going on there when he got the Face. The Face is like a half face, by the way. But I think a little cool story here, a little bit of a little bit different. They show about the Warsaw Ghetto and the wall, and how they were imprisoned back there essentially. Yeah, I agree.
Not a big Roy Thomas fan. Love Roy Thomas.
Agree. No, I agree that I don't know. I am a Roy Thomas fan, but I agree that this is a good series. All right, let's ramp it up here. Okay,
you got it.
This
what
is
cool.
On? 14. Right. Very cool here because this is. I did a video on this. Roy Thomas and I think Len Wein or Martin Pasco, they do a crossover. The Crusaders are actually the freedom fighters, and on freedom fighters, their Crusaders are the invaders.
Yeah.
Okay. But the stories don't cross over, but the characters are obviously the same.
Right. It's an unofficial crossover with DC with this issue and the next issue and Freedom Fighters 7, 8, and 9.
Right. Exactly. It's beautiful. This would be Uncle Sam, Spirit of 76. You have Black Condor, Captain Wings. You have Human Bomb, which is Thunder Fist, I think.
Yep.
You have Ghost Girl, which is that's so close. Phantom Lady, come on.
Yep.
And then you don't have Johnny Lightning in here, but that would be the Ray. And then you have
Tommy Lightning.
Sorry, I mean Johnny Lightning. And then you have Dynamite, which is Dollman. Which is
right.
Yeah. It's the same team, right? But anyway, but the story here is that except for Spirit of 76, they're all British guys.
Right.
And
he's one of them blooming Yanks.
A spy. Yeah. Huh?
He's a blooming Yank.
He's a blooming Yankee. Yeah.
Yeah. All the others.
And there's the invaders are supposed to are in a park there, and when the King George, I think it was, is in a car, and this one cabbie says, "I saw this guy heading that way," but he actually steers them the wrong way. So
there was an exploding car that they saw. They were on their way to Buckingham Palace to become the honor guard for the king. And then this guy, Alfie, this cabbie, he misdirects them. And in the meantime, there's an assassination plot against the king that is foiled by this new group called the Crusaders.
Yep.
And they end up becoming the honor guard for the king.
Right. And of course, the invaders are very skeptical because they'd never heard of these guys.
Right.
They just come out of the blue. But Spitfire keeps saying, no, they're Brits. Yeah, because she sticks up for them. And, again, the invaders are not crazy, but the king says, I want the Crusaders. What are they supposed to do?
Right.
But at the end, we see that Alfie guy again, and he's got this big, like snicker, like yeah.
It's a
dentist
that's right.
It'll be
He's
fun.
got all 32 showing. Anthony, good to see you. Thanks for stopping in. We appreciate it.
Hey, Anthony. What did he say there? Roger, that main character in the cover. There's a female character, Miss Liberty, on the cover of Justice League. That looks like. Yeah, you're right. Miss Liberty does look like him. You're right. Yeah. Yep. Ryan is like the master of the female characters. I'm gonna talk to you, Ryan, because I want to do something with you with that, but we'll talk about that later. Bill, I think that the king is going to christen a ship, right?
He is. Yep. And Alfie, it turns out, is a Nazi saboteur. And he is hidden an explosive inside this bottle. So as soon as he hits the bottle of champagne against the ship, theoretically it will explode and kill the king.
But Dynamite,
what's that?
But Dynamite, the little guy, he suspects something, so he latches onto Alfie and hears what's going on.
Correct. Yep. Right? And tells the invaders.
So of course they go to stop it, and
right.
Battle Royale occurs.
Yep. And the Crusaders think they're up to no good, and so the Crusaders and the invaders start fighting.
Right.
And then
previously Alfie had shown them pictures when the invaders were under the control of Red Skull.
Right, when they were destroying that American defense plant.
Right. Yep. So to let them know, hey, these are not good guys. They're bad guys, right?
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
They kind of bought it, I guess. Yeah. But Alfie actually has the power belt that powers all their abilities.
That's right.
And so I think the Submariner intercepts the bottle, or was it the Human Torch? And no, the Submariner, and throws it way out there. A huge explosion. The Crusaders realize they've been duped, and they get rid of all their equipment. They don't want anything to do with Alfie, and who's obviously. Was Alfie killed or was he captured?
He was killed, yes. Trying to escape, he was killed. Yeah.
Okay. So again, not the best, but it's so cool when you think about these characters and how these two writers sort of did a crossover at the same months, by the way.
Right.
With their teams, and their prospective editors were either in on it or didn't get it.
Right.
All right. Next is the final story arc that we're going to cover.
Yep.
Or we're ambivalent, right? Final story arc that we're going to cover.
This is when we would have done Invaders #1 annual, but we'll kick that to in the sequence. It would come in here, but we'll kick that to the second half.
It would come in here, yeah. But that's no big deal. We can do that first next time because it really doesn't affect this. Yeah.
Continuity, correct. Yep.
So. Go ahead, Bill. You take over. I think I've been talking too much here.
This is 16 So this was when in London, Private Bill Joe White is attacked and abducted by Nazis. He is a writer / artist for a comic book called Major Victory, and the latest issue very suspiciously resembles the origin story of Captain America with the super soldier serum. And the Nazis think that he has some inside information into the super soldier formula. So they abduct him and they hope to get that information from him. They take him to, I don't know German, I'm going to say it's like Berchtesgaden, Hitler's retreat. And Captain America follows him there, and he's captured by Masterman. Here he is, that guy right there. And at the very end, Hitler arrives on the scene, right?
You got it. 100%. Because Masterman, they're missing something in the formula. And he says he doesn't know what it is, but they put him under this contraption which it taps his subconscious or something.
This is in the next issue.
I think he says that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the next issue. Okay, let me go to the next.
Yeah. Yeah, he says it's potassium.
Potassium.
And so
here you go, Ryan.
That's the
female character
right there.
Right here.
Yeah, that's a bub cover right there. That's the girl who was actually a spy who was with Private White when he was captured by the Nazis. She was supposed to be
set him up.
Sweetheart. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, she set him up. And she, we find out that she actually is like the interrogator, and she has like this whip and the whole bit. And she finds that that is the formula. She goes to one of the commanders, the generals, and says, "I want to use this on myself." And he's like, "Listen, again, Nazis, right? They're not big on the women taking power,
right?"
So he says, "No, you do. You follow you follow orders." And she's not crazy about that.
Hauptmann Schneider, I think, right?
Yeah, you have good memory for those names, man. I don't remember those guys.
Yeah.
But what ends up happening is that the lab she's in, how does it blow up? I forgot. There's like an explosion or something.
Yeah, she's fighting with him and it blows up, but she does get imbued with the serum. And then she becomes Warrior Woman.
Warrior Woman. Yeah. Not Wonder Woman, Ryan. Warrior Woman.
Right. Don't get it twisted, Ryan.
Okay. Yeah, a little bit of a twist there. And she's just as powerful or pretty close to Masterman.
Yeah. Perhaps more so.
Doesn't like him.
Yeah. But the invaders have been captured by this point. They got freed during this, and they try to capture Hitler, but they're beaten by Masterman, team up of Masterman and Warrior Woman.
And I almost said Wonder Woman. And Warrior Woman. Yes. I almost say it. And they throw Cap. Cap is thrown off the edge of that keep, right?
I thought that was the next issue. Maybe it was this issue.
I think it was right at the end of this.
He's thrown off, and presumably he dies because he's thrown off the embattlement. But a World War II era hero named the Destroyer is there to break his fall and essentially save his life. It's like a castle where she throws him off of.
Yeah, it's like a castle or a keep or something. Yeah, there's where he's thrown off right there.
Okay. Yeah, he's presumed dead.
And they can't see because it's dark, so they think he's dead, right?
Yep.
Yeah. But as Bill was saying, there is another hero down there who was actually fighting behind lines called the Mighty Destroyer.
Yep.
And he Cap is falling. He kind of grabs branches and breaks his fall. They're both like unconscious down there, but they survive.
Right.
And I think I don't know if it was Hitler. One of the generals says, "Go down there, make sure he's dead. Give me the shield."
Yes.
Yes.
Yep. I want to make sure.
So a bunch of soldiers go down there to check, and they're dispatched.
They are. And the invaders, this is another instance in which they're held in these custom cages again, which is just fantastic.
Yeah. They have them all over Germany, apparently.
Apparently, yeah. And Hitler wants Masterman and Warrior Woman to wed so that they can start breeding super soldier children for him.
Yeah. And Masterman's all about it, and Warrior Woman is like, "No, I don't want to."
Yeah, she doesn't want any part of it.
But Hitler says, "You're going to do what I tell you to do."
Yep.
So
Cap and Destroyer free Private White.
Yep.
And the invaders are already on their way to Berlin to be executed publicly, to be paraded around and then executed publicly.
Right.
And Lord Falsworth, Spitfire, and Dynamite, they're already in Berlin to try to help Roger, who is Dynamite, regain his memories. In a previous issue, they took off and left a note that said, "Hey, we're going on a secret mission," to the other invaders. So,
yeah, because Falsworth's son and Roger had left because they had a discussion about the war, and they were more pacifists. Yep. And there was pictures of them in Germany, and so they figured that was the answer. Somewhere down there is the answer. Okay.
Yeah, they went to Germany to discuss the
Destroyer is important.
Right.
Right. And they have a friend there, the chauffeur guy, who's a German, but he's not a Nazi. He's actually with the Allies.
Yeah.
So, and they see that the invaders are there being paraded in Berlin. Yeah, okay. Go. I'm sorry, Bill. Go ahead. I've been talking too much. Go ahead.
That's all right. So they're paraded through the streets, and the Crusader is telling Cap, "Hey, we need to form a plan, right? On how to get. I'm sorry, the Destroyer. On how to get them out. Yeah." And Cap sees one of the guards looks like he's about to shoot Bucky, and he just impulsively jumps in. And so the jig is up at that point, and they both have to enter the fray. Cap is captured, and Destroyer looks like he's finished off by a German grenade. The Fallsworth party sees this, and that's when they say, "Hey, we got to try to help these guys," right? The Destroyer, I think it's during this issue where they find out that the Destroyer is Brian Fallsworth, is the son of Lord Fallsworth. But this is where they say, they do a little flashback, and they say because Roger and that gang, they come across this German scientist that put him into the Crusader project, and it starts jogging his memory, right? And he, in 1938, he and Brian went to Germany to discuss appeasement with the Germans, and they captured him and didn't let them leave, except that Brian escaped prison and became the Destroyer and started working in Germany against the Germans. But all the invaders are drugged, and Master Man and Warrior Woman are technically wed. They're almost wed by the, I guess, chaplain, and then he's killed by like some debris, and then Hitler says, "Yeah, you two are married," you know?
Right.
And then at the very end, Union Jack happens upon the scene. Right.
And by the way, we also learned that Brian Fallsworth also has a super soldier serum that he took during that same process with the that Roger, right?
Correct.
But so he is also probably about equal to Cap, I'd say.
Right. Although since he's British, he's not quite as good. I think that's clear.
Ooh, the Gray Man's going to get you for that one.
There he is.
The Gray Man's going to get you for that one. That you're in trouble for that one. Yeah.
And then the next two issues, I suspect with issue 20, they got some of it done, and they're like, you know what, we're not going to be able to finish this in time. This is just me suspecting. So they said, all right, let's cut it in half, put in a reprint, and then we'll finish it up in the following issue. That's what I think happened.
It's half an issue is original, half is reprints. I think Marvel Comics 1 and something else. Yeah, the other one.
It was Marvel Comics 1 about Namor. And so in this one, the invaders are essentially right there at the firing squad, and the Nazis are attacked by Union Jack. But his legs are busted up. How can that be? Well, it's because Brian has assumed the mantle of the second Union Jack. And while everybody is fighting, because the invaders are out of their drugged up stupor, and they start fighting, and Toro is shot. Hitler escapes with Cap's shield because he wants to figure out the properties behind it, and little dynamite is a little stowaway on that shield. And I think that's the end of that part.
And there's sort of I don't know if you mentioned, there's sort of a side part where they find out that Brian Fallsworth was the Destroyer, and then his father gives him the costume,
right?
Because he thinks that would be more appropriate now that he is going to be rescuing and more shocking to the Germans if he wears this and confusing them. And it did work. It did work for a little bit.
Absolutely.
And then here we have
Gil Kane covers, by the way.
Toro was shot. Oh yeah, look at that. they call it the Battle of Berlin here, right? Is that what they call it?
Yep.
I think that's what they call it. Yeah.
So in this one, Dynamite attacks Hitler.
Go ahead, Bill. Go.
Yeah, Dynamite attacks Hitler on the bomber plane. The invaders are fighting Masterman and Warrior Woman. Masterman sees that there aren't any bombs being dropped from that bomber. He's like, what the heck's going on? So he, like you said, he jumps or flies essentially up to the bomber to investigate.
Yep.
And Dynamite fires a missile at him that explodes and doesn't necessarily kill him, but eventually renders him ineffective for the rest of the battle and incapacitates him. And Toro never regains consciousness.
It sends him way off into the distance. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Little Dynamite Phil's nickname. Yeah, and Toro never regains consciousness, and you're kind of left with Torch vowing revenge if Toro is to die. Essentially saying, I will kill if something happened to Toro, and he ends up perishing.
He vows to kill Hitler if anything happens to Toro. He says, I'll come back there and get him myself.
Yeah.
And and that's where the issue ends right there. That
Speaking of Dynamite,
does continue later on, but we figured this was a good place to end.
Absolutely.
Essentially, where.
Speaking of Dynamite, for those of you who don't know, this guy's Dynamite, and I won the. I am the reigning cover slingers champion. Not something I like to brag about. I'm more humble than that, but I did want to announce it off the rooftops.
Never.
That I am the cover slingers champion. Yet again, it's becoming commonplace at this point. But I certainly appreciate the votes from the chat, and I will do my best to uphold the standards that I have previously set, the high standards as cover slingers champion. So thank you.
You know, it's very hard to keep a straight face when you start talking about those things. It's very, very difficult. But since I'm a guest on your channel, I'll keep it together for now. So, but guess what, Bill? In about a month, we're going to finish this up on my channel.
Absolutely.
So if you guys are out there, have the Invaders, or you want to get ready for it, read 22 through 41 plus the annual. There was a story arc that went into the Marvel 2-in-1 annual with with the Liberty Legion and the Invaders and Fantastic Four, but I don't think we have to cover that. It's really not a continuity here. And that's going to be a dense part of what we're going to be doing, because a lot of new characters are going to be coming in. A lot of new villains are going to be coming in. A lot of old ones are going to be coming in. So I think the next 20 some odd issues are going to take us about as long as this.
Now, were there 2 annuals?
No, there was 1 annual.
Okay, yeah, there were 2 giant size, right? Except the second one was like in 2008.
Yeah,
right?
and it was mostly reprints.
Right.
It had one little untold story. If you want to, we can do that, but
no,
not much.
No,
so,
I'd like to keep it bronze.
Bronze, yeah, 22 through 41, and the first annual. I think that's good enough. There's again a few little crossovers, but I don't think we have to get into those. Those were not really not part of the Roy Thomas saga, shall we say?
Yes, like we did. We started off talking about giant size.
Yes, we did. Right here. Yeah, but we don't want this to take too much longer. We're already at 1 hour and almost 20 minutes. So
yep, that will do it.
That will do it.
Thank you so much, Roger, for doing this with me. I always have a blast. It's always so much fun. Thank you, chat, for being part of it. Hopefully, we all learned a little bit more about a super cool superhero team. And if you're watching this on the rewind, thank you so much. I've got Roger's channel in the description. Please sub him up. I know everybody in the chat subbed up, but you never know. Someone may get angry with him, rage unsub him. Please reconsider and sub him up again.
Yeah. I'm very controversial. So,
you certainly are. What would you like to say in closing, sir?
The great chat here. Of course, I drop my videos on Thursdays. Bill does Monday, Wednesday, Fridays. So you only have Tuesdays where you have to find somebody else. And the weekends you can take off. But
That's right.
thanks for being here. I'll finish up with my sign off. I want everybody to be kind to each other, be blessed, and be back.
And I don't have a comic to hold up, but we're taking over the world. There we go. One comic book at a time. There it is. Thank you, sir. See you guys.